Recently at work, a colleague approached me if I could support her in a conversation that she was supposed to be having with her supervisor, and she wanted to give him some constructive feedback about a recent situation that happened. And she knew that I'm a bit more, I would say, knowledgeable and skilled in the how to give feedback, how to construct it, how to prepare for it. We talked about it in the past, and I figured out that since I've prepared, I would say, for a short workshop with her, I could actually share it with all of you, so it might help also others. So I would like to invite you guys to a video on the Dostarczaj Wartość channel. My name is Tomasz Niemiec, and today I will be talking about my feedback essentials. So I would say the most basic things that you need to know before actually going to a conversation with someone to give someone feedback. And okay, so the first thing that is like the absolute ultimate mandatory thing that I always talk about when giving someone feedback is that it should be done one-on-one with the person that you are actually speaking to, or the entity that you are speaking to. And it's a bit of strange to talk about people as an entity, but I call it like this because if the like target of the feedback is actually one person, then it's definitely should be done one-on-one when it is criticism. And if you are actually want to give feedback like a critique to a whole team, then it should be done with the whole team, right? So it's always like one-to-one. It's always personal with the entity that you are actually like targeting with the feedback. And maybe here I should also talk about a thing that I'm always trying to also say when about feedback is that for me, there is nothing like a positive and negative feedback or good or bad feedback. Feedback is always something positive and it's always good. As Simon Sinek would actually said it in his presentations, is that feedback is a gift. It's something that we should be thankful of because feedback is actually someone wanting to help us and to notice something or to maybe think about some changes that we could be doing or to make the relationship between two people actually much better. So it's always a positive, a good thing. That's why I don't like to say the negative feedback or bad feedback. But I definitely know that like the feedback can be like an cheering someone up, and it can be also like critiquing some kind of behavior or some kind of situation or way of working. So critique and cheering is actually something that I prefer to use than good or bad or positive and negative. So that's about to start the whole conversation. Now, when it comes to framework for actually having the discussion, and we work in IT, well, I work in IT, and this is where I spend most of my time as a workplace, is that we like frameworks and we like things that we can just take out of the box and use. Thankfully, there is something that has a much better name when it comes to Polish language. It's called FUKOS. So it doesn't have, I would say, that's kind of sexy and catchy name when it comes to the English language. But in general, I would say you could call it like FFCER. So it sounds bad, right? So, but what the framework is about, it's about facts, feelings, consequences, expectations, and rules. And there are two optional parts in the whole framework, which are feelings and rules. And so, as you can probably imagine, it's about, first of all, you speak about your the facts that happened, then about the feelings, the consequences that this behavior or this the thing that happened that you are giving to actually has caused or could cause. And then you talk about, I would say, your expectations for the future about the person or the team or the entity in general. And if there are any rules already set up, let's say that you have a rule to the entire team that you will said that you will keep, everyone in the team keeps it, so there is something actually to refer to, right? There is some set of rules that have been already set. So that's about why the feelings and the rules are there, because rules, if there are any already, and feelings, it's more about what's your relationship with the person that you are speaking to, and how much you actually want to share. Because you don't have to share your feelings on any, I would say, feedback session. But if you really want to, and you feel that you have such a good relationship with the other side, that it actually benefits the conversation, then of course you could. So to give an example out of my mind right now, because I don't have one prepared, so sorry that it will not maybe be perfect, is about when you say to someone, so you came, you didn't come to the meeting this morning that we agreed to 2 days ago, and without any message beforehand of notifying me about it. This made me angry, and as a consequence of this, I didn't go to a meeting that took place at the same time that also I wanted to join in, but I choose to meet with you in the same time slot. As an expectation, I would expect that if you are not gonna make it to a meeting that we are having, please notify me beforehand about it. And if there are any rules, like I said, in the team, we already set this up that we will be at least, I don't know, 1 hour before the meeting marking that we are not going to come, or that we just need to use the calendar invite to say if we are going to be there or not. We can refer to that as we have it in our team rules or something like that. So that's usually how the conversation or how the feedback should be structured. But that's just, I would say, the top of the iceberg, like the tip of the iceberg. It's a small thing, this framework, but unfortunately many companies like stop at it, and many people also, when they try to learn about feedback, they actually stop at this because they think, oh, this is actually something I can take out of the box, I can use it and it's gonna be all fine, right? So that's just something to ease the structuring of the meeting, but it's actually not the most important stuff. The most important stuff is what we do before the feedback that we are giving, and also very important part, how we are receiving it. A lot of companies, a lot of organizations are so focused on teaching people how to give good feedback that they don't completely forget about teaching also how to receive it and how to act on it. And that's a major, I would say, gap, and not a lot of people actually are thinking about it. But for me, it's also, or I would say even equally important than how we are preparing for it. So now about the preparation phase, which comes first. First of all, ask for permission. Big thing, right? You don't surprise someone with feedback. You always ask, hey, can I give you feedback about the situation this morning? Or something along those lines. Like, feedback cannot be something that you just jump on someone and give him feedback. It's not something, remembering the rule, one-on-one rule, that you surprise someone on, let's say, at the end of a workshop. The person has ended the workshop, he's not asking for feedback, and you're just standing up and say, I would like to give you feedback on the presentation. So no, you don't surprise someone with the feedback, and also as the other person, you could say, thank you that you want to share, but could you please do it, I would say, privately or tomorrow or something like that. So always ask for permission and don't surprise someone with feedback, regardless if it's like, of course, if it's like the cheering part, then maybe that doesn't have to be, I would say, asked for permission, but it could be. Like maybe someone is not comfortable to be cheered up, I would say, in front of a bigger group. It could always happen, so also have it back in your mind. But definitely when it comes to the critique part, always ask for permission to actually do it. And this is something really important that I think about, and I very correlated with this one-on-one rule in my head. And in my experience, even if someone is asking after a workshop, okay, so now give me feedback, I always am very conscious of this, because I know that even if he worked a lot on a company, that doesn't mean that he knows how to receive it. And even sometimes people just ask for feedback because it's the nice thing to do, and it's like something automatic that comes out, but they are actually not there. They actually cannot receive it so that it will work. So I'm always very, I would say, safe about it, risk averse about this part, and generally fall into, I would say, asking for permission and doing it all the time. The next part, check your feelings. If you are going, I would say, with an hot head, I think that's, or I would say the feelings are very high. You are erupted with emotions. That's not gonna produce a good feedback session. So always try to calm yourself down, even if the situation was difficult. And here is where the feedback, feedback framework could actually help, because it talks about facts. And it's good to, when checking your feelings, to use something that we call like third-person perspective or the camera perspective. So if there would be a camera in the room that this situation happened, what would it actually record? Because you, in your head, you might have things like, I was disrespected, I was being laughed off, and so on, because that's very correlated with your personal feelings. But it's always to have good to have like one step back and think about, okay, so if there would be a camera in this room, what it would actually notice, what exactly happened. Because if you want to use the framework that I said, like, you need to like see the facts. Okay, so what are the real facts? And it's always better to not go into very heated into a conversation, into a feedback session, because 9 out of 10% of the time it will just not work, and it will not produce the outcomes and the positive results, here I can say it, that we actually want from a feedback session. So check your feelings. Next thing, find the motivation. And I understand this two ways. First of all, what you should know, that people want to get feedback. Like, think of it as I would say, like having some kind of salad between your teeth, right? It's, of course, it's difficult, and it's like a bit stressful to go to the person on the bus and say to him, which you don't know, that they have something between their teeth. But in general, think about, okay, so because that person will go to a meeting that he has in the morning, maybe he will not notice it, and that's gonna hurt him even more, right? So of course, like, giving feedback is sometimes awkward, it's stressful, but people want to get it. If you notice something that could be beneficial for the other side, that could help him, and get him thinking into making something better, then please do it and find the motivation for actually doing it. Even if it is your supervisor, right? So maybe there is something that he could be doing better, and as long as you think about all those things, like asking for permission, checking your feelings, and so on, it should be fine. So that's how I understood the motivation. The other side to think about motivation is about, okay, so what are we trying actually to achieve with this feedback? If I'm going into a feedback session because I want this person to change, like I want to fundamentally change the values, or I would say the behaviors of the other person, maybe we need to do a bit of a bigger walk, because we are thinking about the feedback session about us. It's us wanting to do something. It's us wanting to enforce something on the other side. We are not thinking about giving a gift, again, using Simon Sinek's head, a gift, something that the other side could use and be of benefit. And why that is, I will also refer to it when I will be talking about the thing to how to receive feedback. The final thing when it comes to preparation is, we have a saying in Poland to actually hit the iron while it's hot. I think there is a saying like that also in English. So hit the iron while it's hot, but not too hot. Think about the feelings, what I said, and asking for permission, right? So, of course, feedback should be done as soon as it's possible, like very short after something has happened. So it should be, like, in quotes, immediate, but don't lose the steps that I already talked about when preparing for it, right? So take your time to prepare for it, but please also think about to not stretch it too long, because a feedback session about things that happened a week ago is even, I would say, strange. Something that happened a few weeks ago or even a month is definitely a strange thing to do, because that person could be in a completely different mindset. He might not even remember, because again, okay, so it hurt or it affected somehow us, but maybe the other person didn't see it completely this way. So he will be not able to like think about it and to understand what happened on that meeting, and to also like take your words actually for the truth when you will be saying it in any way. because it happened so long ago, right? So hit the iron while it's hot, but not too hot. And now about the receiving part of the feedback. So first of all, don't be defensive. And this is a bit controversial because all people will say, oh, but I'm being attacked and so I cannot defend myself. So first of all, nobody is attacking you. Feedback is a gift. Feedback is something good and something positive. The other person has in mind to actually give you something so you can be better, so nobody's attacking you. And it's being done one-on-one. The person asked for the permission to actually do it. You granted this permission, right? So please don't be defensive about everything that the person is saying. And now we're coming to the second part of receiving feedback. Ask clarifying questions. So ask only about things that help you understand if there is something that the person said that you don't understand. Like only clarify it, but also don't fall into this trap of puppeteering. Like to trying to ask clarifying questions so that the other person actually like changes his mind, or you actually start attacking him, right? So a question like, oh, so you actually didn't like how my designs look like, right? So yeah, this kind of questions are actually like, they sound clarifying, but you have the intention of actually like being defensive, right? You know about it. So ask clarifying questions that help you understand the other side, but don't be defensive. So that's, I would say, 1 and 2. Don't fall into emotions. That's also kind of, I see in my notes that I correlated with this. So defensive emotions and asking clarifying questions. Think about all of this in one way. The next thing is take time to process. Just because someone is giving you feedback, just because someone is telling you his their expectations or things that you can think about or improve, and etc., doesn't mean that you have to take action on it immediately, that you have to take action at all. And that's also something that might sound strange, but it is like this, that, okay, someone gave me feedback, it's now on my side how I'm going to use it, if I'm going to use it at all, right? So just because someone is giving us feedback, we don't have to immediately say, okay, we are agreeing or we are not agreeing. That's one thing. You can always have the option to actually say, okay, thank you for it. I need some time to process it. Can we meet as soon as possible? I will let you know eventually tomorrow or in 2 days, so we can get back to the conversation, because it was a lot and I would like to think about it, right? This person had the time to actually prepare for it. It's completely respectful also for you to actually have, before you say yes or no, or anything that you wanted to respond to. If you need that time, of course, then it's okay to ask for it and to take it. So you have the time to process it, and how you process it is up to you when you are receiving feedback. And the final thing that is also important, that sometimes overlooked, is to say thanks and be thankful for the feedback. Someone did an awkward thing, like he asked you for a meeting one-on-one, prepared for it. It was constructive, so you understand what what the other side wanted to say, and the other side came in with something that could be useful to you. So with the motivation of actually helping you, like to being a support. So please also say thanks for it, regardless of how it went. Assume or know that the intentions were good on the other side, so it's always welcome also to say thanks after it. So those were basically my essentials. The final thing that I would say, also remember that it's a dialogue, right? So either if you are the part that's actually giving feedback, remember that it is good to at some point ask for the other side opinion on something. The other side might say he wants to do it right now, or he needs time, or whatever. But it's a dialogue. So first of all, also think about looking into the other side perspective and letting him talk. And on this other side, remember that you have the time to actually process it and to not be defensive and all those things that I already said. And now for the final advice of this video, this is exactly something that is very correlated with my personal experience at my work, is that feedback and evaluation are two different things. And very often I see that companies are actually mixing them together as the one and the same thing. So basically they are training their leaders and managers to give feedback and how to prepare for it and how for it to work, but to use it on evaluation sessions, because they train managers who have people underneath their like ladder of control, we could say, in a company. And in my experience, through the years that I was trained to mix them all together, I had very big problems with actually getting them to work and for them to be at the result that I was expecting, for them to be actually well went and understood, and to actually get that positive results out of them. It was hard to do. And once I started to distinguish them, to have them, I would say, separate, it all clicked just like that. And for me, for the other sides, and it was much more beneficial. So how I see it, evaluation discussions are like checkpoints in a person's growth or career or something like that. So you set your goals, let's say with a SMART system, and then you set up, I would say, further checkpoints, like evaluation checkpoints, where you meet again and you go through those goals. Like, okay, so were they accomplished, were they not accomplished, like in what percentage were they accomplished, any way that you can actually do. But like evaluation talks are something that are happening in, I would say, an organized way, that have a schedule and have an exact goal with the between the two sides. And on those meetings, you either evaluate the goals and the progress, or set up new goals and accomplishments between you guys. And the feedback sessions are something that are happening as the person is moving in the frames that you have created on the evaluation discussions, are like small nudges of the person that he is actually staying on the correct track, or he is moving as fast as possible in the right direction. Because like feedback sessions could be either like making a correction on the direction that someone is taking, or pushing him forward. Like, let's say that you want to give an I'm trying to not say the word positive, that you want to cheer someone up and actually give praise. Oh, praise, that was the word. Give praise to someone about how he is working in the last week, or how he presented the sprint review of the entire team on the last meeting that you guys had, to give him a boost, like wind to his sails in his career. So, and that's how they happen like very irregular as they need to happen, and they can happen anytime along the way inside the company. So if you would think of, I would say like that evaluation creates the borders, I would say, on each side, and how the person is moving, I would say, and sometimes drifting to one side or another, you nudge him. Of course, not physically, because that could be like ending in a very, I would say, nasty way. But you are nudging him slightly left or right, or to keep him on the direct correction, or to give him a boost, right? So that's how I see those two actually being distinguished from each other. And when companies start to mix them all together, they lose their sense. And it just doesn't work from my perspective. So that is all what I had to say about feedback in this video. I hope that this could be helpful to you guys. I would love to hear in comments if you agree or not agree, or you have completely different understanding of giving feedback, receiving it. And if there was something also unclear, please write it in the feedback. Look what is other happening on the Dostarczaj Wartość channel. It's actually delivering value in English. We're thinking about creating an English channel, but for now there is an English playlist on the channel when you can hear us speaking in English about videos about the same topics we also have in Polish, so please do that. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, that's what usually influencers say at the end of the video. And yeah, hopefully this will be helpful, and please get in touch if you need something more about this. So thank you very much, and see you on the next video. Bye.